Hi, everybody. I am going to try to divide this probably into two lectures so that you can take a break and get a cup of coffee in between. But what I want to talk about today is getting a better understanding of empathy versus sympathy, the idea of attending to people while you're talking to them, doing open and closed questioning. These are really basic skills of social work, and I'm hoping that everybody got these in their repertoire during social work one. But so we need a little bit of review. And if we didn't, bear with us, and I'm going to make sure that you have a better understanding of it by the time we're done. I am also going to include two fun videos. They're each under a minute, I think, and you should be able to really gather empathy versus sympathy from that. I'm going to ask you after all of these videos to please give me some feedback or a question anyway, so that I can make sure that you did listen to this. Harriet Lerner one time said that we should listen to other people with the same passion that we feel things ourselves. And if we really are able to listen with that passion, it means we have to be able to go into our heart, not just our head and not just our ears, really feel what they're feeling and then be able to give it back to them. And that's what empathy is. President Bill Clinton one time said, and he became famous for it, "I feel your pain." Feeling another person's pain and being able to give it back to them, even feeling somebody's joy and giving it back to them, that's what empathy is. I think the biggest problem is people sometimes give sympathy when really what people want is empathy. Sympathy, sometimes it's helpful, but it means I feel sorry for you. Empathy means I feel with you or I feel for you. And there's a definite difference in it. Sometimes you'll see that people will seek out other groups when they've had a problem. They'll seek support groups. Or even if you're in a classroom, you'll notice sometimes people will split up by gender, by race, different ways like that. That happens because we want people to understand us. And so we seek out people that are like us. We believe that we are going to be able to have some empathy. When you are treating someone, as a social worker or a psychologist or a nurse, you're tuning into empathy because you truly want to have a bond with that person that is not based on pity or based on you're doing something for them. It's you're understanding them. And to understand somebody, you have to have had a true understanding of what's happening for them inside. I tell my students all the time that we want to understand what happened to people, and we understand what happened to people by tuning into experiences that we have had that have been very similar. I had a student who had a pretty bad accident coming to class one night, and about four of the other students in the class had had accidents in the past, and they were just readily available to say to that person, to talk to them about the shock and the fear, to understand that loss of control. That's because they too, it hadn't had to be the same accident, but they'd had that sense of what that's like. Um, Sympathy sometimes is what we have when someone dies, someone passes away, and we send them a sympathy card. A lot of times we send that sympathy card because we feel sorry. We feel sorry for them that they had to go through this. We feel sorry that the person that they cared about is no longer in their life. But empathy is a little different. Empathy might be that you come over and you bring a casserole or you bring some supplies, paper towels and whatnot, to the bereaved person's home because you have empathy. And what that shows is you've been there before and you know what it's like in that very beginning of grief to not be able to, cook or be able to get to the store or anything like that. There is a difference there. They both have a role in life. Um, One of the things that's really important about to understand about the opposite of empathy, and that comes out of a society that I find is getting increasingly desensitized to pain. Children have video games, movies are very graphic, our news is on all the time, so we see pain and horror that's happening all over the world. When you are exposed to all of that, you can become desensitized to it. It doesn't bother you as much. That's a hard series of feelings to have inside, desensitization, to try to have empathy for the people that will come into your life. So when we have that potential danger that arises when we are not feeling whole and really experiencing the pains and difficulties in the world or in our own worlds, really makes it hard for us to feel for one another. And quite frankly, the worst thing that comes out of people who are unable to feel for one another is a sociopath. Someone with a sociopathic personality has no concern, no empathy, no sympathy, but mostly no empathy for somebody else. So we want to try to stay away from that. Both of them, empathy and sympathy, come, by the way, from a place of good intention, but empathy comes from a place of true feeling and understanding. And both of them are important to not having a sociopathic society. Um, I'm just wondering if you could think for a minute to yourself of times that you might have wanted sympathy versus times that you might have wanted empathy. I mentioned the car accident thing. You might have wanted sympathy then because that's like scary and you're kind of in shock and you don't know what to do. Another thing might be um, if you've just had a baby and you're really exhausted and the baby's crying all the time and you're not sure what to do. I'm not sure if you really want sympathy right then. You don't really want someone to feel sorry for you and pity you, but you would like someone to be able to say, I felt like that too. I remember how tired I was. To assure you that the feelings that you have were pretty normal. That makes you feel better. The importance between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy makes you feel like people feel sorry for you, but empathy will make the client feel like you get their pain. A client never wants to feel like their social worker pities them. That's a very disempowering feeling. We want to empower them by letting them know that they feel supported, that what they said to us has been heard, and because of empathy, we're able to share that. It's a way to also partner with people. If you have empathy for a full group of people that have come to you, you're more likely to get them to be able to understand that you want to partner with them in coming up with a solution to their problems. Um, in order to really be able to do empathy, and this is what I'm going to ask you to do for the next week, is to talk to people just when they're talking to you and they're telling you about something. Try to think of a time you were in the same situation and then feel the feeling that comes up. That's empathy. And try to put it out there. Um, if you, for example, have been through a divorce and your client comes in and they tell you that their husband has asked for a divorce or their wife has asked for a divorce, you're going to tune into how you felt when you got divorced to be able to understand that person. So that could happen. So just looking for that in the next couple of weeks from you, whether it's in another class, if someone's telling you a problem, if it's a family member telling you something. Try not to give sympathy. Try not to give advice. Try to just give them back what you're feeling. I'm listening to you and I'm feeling like you're overwhelmed, or it sounds like you're very angry. But you're tuning in, you're not guessing, you're tuning into the feeling that you've had that has been very similar. So another part that I want to get into in a little bit is the idea of attending skills. So this is another thing to start to practice. So even as I'm talking to you, I am imagining you're right there and I am trying to look in your eyes. I'm trying to pretend that you are talking back to me and I would nod my head. These are all things that we do to let a client, a person we're working with, a group we're working with, know that we are truly paying attention to them. When you're talking to somebody and they're looking aside or they go down and they start texting, you know they're not fully listening to you. They're not fully engaged with you. But to look someone in the eye, to really listen, to move your head and give them the prompt they need to continue, that can make all the difference in the world. So I'd like you to try that too. These are just little things. Don't tell the people that you're trying this out on that you're trying it. Just see what happens. Watch how much a nod of the head and direct eye contact, being fully present for somebody works. Now, just to show that you did read this video, I'm going to ask you to give me a quick email. You know what my email is, or actually I will try to put this link into a assignment so that you can let me know the answer to this question. What kind of background is in the room I'm in? Talk to me a little bit about the background. What did you see? That way I'll know you were here. Thanks for listening. Keep an eye out for the other videos.